I went ahead and just hit the record on my computer because I knew I'd kind of be chatty with you beforehand and didn't want to have to shorten it. So we have our angel again from Renee, which we thank her for sending it, and she even ripped out the little stitches she had put in between the scallops so that we could get some nice form there on them. I think it's very interesting the way that she stitched these. They're very nice and even, but you can tell, so in the last class we were discussing this set right here and how they're not very deep scallop shape. And you can tell that she definitely did like a 2-up long stitch. So here's hoping we don't have too big a challenges with the long stitch. We also have our 1/8 inch foam core. She was very nice and she sent me what she uses for the thin batting, but I'm gonna go ahead and use the kind that I always use. And she wanted a plain navy, and I had one that was a little closer to the navy that was in the wings, so I substituted it, and it is very thick, very nice ultra suede. It's lovely, lovely. So I actually did not put any fusible interfacing on it. And I'll go. Hold on. Ooh.
Recording in progress.
Hello, I'm back. Hopefully you can all hear me.
Yeah, you can't see you yet.
Oh, great.
All right, wait, gotta get away from the people.
Okay, so now I got Lou and Luann's phone. Okay, how we?
Well, you just popped up.
Yeah, my computer won't let me hear you. so I'm
I
signing off on my computer and I'm just going to do it through my phone.
That's fine. I love that. So.
I found the same thing last week. I had my phone and my computer going at the same time because I could hear on one and see on the other.
I just now realize that's happening to me as well.
Oh no. Yeah, see, I'm really glad that it's not just me.
There you go.
Oh my gosh.
That's going to solve the problem. You can solve the problem.
So,
oh God. Okay, sorry.
You're all right. So, I'm using the Ultra Suede. I don't think I'm going to go ahead and put the interfacing on because it is the actual really heavy, thick, good stuff. And yeah, so let's go ahead and jump in. And the first thing.
So Kelly, when you said you really like this book off the plate,
Yep.
Do you find that it's as malleable as the lighter stuff with the interfacing on it, or?
Yeah. Oh yes.
Yes. You can get into the faces with the thick stuff?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. All right. I just ordered some because you had said that before, but I haven't used the really.
Yeah, it has a nice little stretch to it. And that's why if it is a pillow or something I have to stuff or that might stretch a little more than I want, then I will put the interfacing on this, but none of those are applicable to our little angel. So that's why I'm not putting it on, is I actually do want it to stretch in certain places. So I'm not gonna do it for that. But like if you were doing a pillow with ultra suede, um, you put the interfacing on it. You will regret it if you don't, because when you stuff it, it will blow out the back side and just look like I have so many analogies that I don't even want to go there. Yeah. I just remember a lot of polyester pants in the 70s on women that shouldn't have worn them. So that's what my mind goes to of that. And myself, it's like there are certain things I don't wear because I don't want to look like the back of that pillow. So, but for this, we're cool. It's gonna work great, hopefully. I say that, and I could end up with issues. But yeah, I do love using ultra suede, and it's just kind of that. It's a high quality fabric. You can tell that it's a high quality fabric, and I still love the um, the faux ultra suede because it still has that look. And there are so many people that do not like velvet, velveteens. It's just a little too blast from the past, old school, maybe overused a little too much, dated. So this has a nice finish to it. Yeah, so we're gonna get our iron heated up, and as we go around, I go right up in and cut that very last stitch. Yeah, I did. Because
Sorry,
you're
I can't see you.
okay. Can everybody else see me? Hello.
I can't see you at all.
I can see you, but you're pretty far away.
I'm pretty far away.
You're little.
Okay, then you have to spotlight me? I don't know, because mine, I have you spotlighted on my screen. If you can't see me, go out, come back in. It could be a Zoom issue too. Oh, see, now somebody else says I'm frozen. Priscilla is calling me. Hold on. Come on. It's not letting me out. There we go.
Recording in progress.
I'm here.
Hello.
I am. I promise.
Oh, now you're back in big. Thank you.
Yay! Okay, so we're going to get cutting our darts. Thank you, Priscilla, for calling as usual. So, dart, dart, dart.
I've lost you again. Maybe I should sign out and come back in.
No, I don't think it's not you.
No?
I'm gone too. I mean, I can't see her again. Yeah, she's back.
Seriously.
Yeah, seriously.
This
I
is
switched to active list, active person.
yeah, you gotta if, because whoever is talking, you might lose me if you're not, because I spotlight me for everyone, but that doesn't mean if somebody else starts to talk, they might come up over the top of me.
No loud breathing.
Well, that's why it ends up being muting, But I like to be able to have you guys asking as we go. So just make sure when you're doing the scallops that you're doing small darts because of the way we need to turn it under. You don't want anything too large because you want that nice curve. Now this straight, we don't care about that because we aren't trying to wrap it at all. It's not going to bend, so it's not going to create any kinks. So this is okay if we leave it like that. But like if I was doing a belt, always dart. Or a hat band, always dart. So Renee was a gem, and she took out all of the overstitching she did around the scallops, and she was very smart, which everyone should do with this crown, and she filled in the white, because if she didn't fill in between the gold points on her crown, you would not, they would just get turned under. There's no way to make those freestanding little points. You could consider doing kind of this edge and then coming back in when you finished it and putting a bead at those points so they were independent. Now, she also filled in these darts, and if she hadn't, you would cut way up in here, and you would end up folding all of that around. But because she did fill it in, we have a nice long straight edge. Oh, we lost some people. I wonder if we have an issue with, at least I think we lost them. So at the corners we do tiny darts. There's one out there that's a sailor's hat. That one was tough. I've done that one. It's very hard to get all of the points to come up. But with the corners like this, we're just going to go right in and dart in. Okay.
Was that angel from the Jubilee?
You know, I don't know. She just calls it the London Angel. So I don't know if they Painted Pony did another one that was a, because this is really cute. When I opened it up, I was like, ooh, look. So it probably is for the Jubilee. I would suggest that if you really want the scallops at the bottom to be nice and deep, is to actually stitch more like an extra row at the outer parts of the curve, so that it, I'm sorry, what?
To accentuate that dart?
Well, to accentuate the curve. Because see here, it's a big, nice big curve because it's on the straightaway, right? But as they came up and as they painted it, you can see that it sort of hit a gold line on that stitch, but not really. So it's so thin that if you want to have nice deep scallops, that you need to kind of do an over the top arch to really get it. And while I am not the only one that is not in love with finishing the angel. I have had many, many, many other finishers say, yep, it's on my top 5 of not liking it. But And it's all because of that dart right there and how it pulls out and away and when you put it together. This one, and it's the little round head because usually you don't have this, much pronounced top to it. And then you have to figure out how you want to deal. I have to try to remember where to keep my hands with this camera. How you want to deal with the loop and the cording. And traditionally on these I do not put the separate loop at the top. I start the cording here and I come up and I make the loop and I never really insert the loop between. I just make the loop and begin and end it here. But this time, because we have this very lovely top, we actually get to do a traditional loop. But I'm still going to begin it and end it over here, I think, because I don't think there's enough space up here. But I'll look.
Separately, that piece of cord separately and insert
Yep.
it.
Just like that.
Yeah.
So, but I just have to decide on where I want to start the big piece. If I'm able to fit it in here and then sew around, I might. So these little darts on the corner are what make the wings so nice and squared off. Because it keeps that corner right out there. It's when you have to start rolling a lot of canvas back that you lose it. Okay. And we're just barely rolling that under. We are going to, we want as much of this gold stitching to show as possible. And I am using a gold cording so it will help accentuate the scallops.
Kelly, what kind of gold cording do you use? Do you use the Krynic or do you use the DMC?
Krynic. This is Krynic, so I try to match what I have. And you can just...
Did you make it yourself, or
Yes.
does Krynic sell it?
Nope. I don't believe they sell it. The problem with them buying pre-mades is that it's really tough to... I can decide how thick I want it. I don't want somebody else determining it's too thick, it's too thin, So...
And with something that this has this many curves and stuff, you're going to use it really thin?
Well, that's 8 and 8.
Oh, it is?
It's not that thin.
No.
I am so sorry. I swear these glasses have like spidering from the hot glue gun or something, because every time I put them on, my nose is so itchy. Yeah, no, so part of the issue with hiding your mechanics on this piece with this dart is if it isn't a little bit thicker to help you hide this divot that is naturally going to happen there, it's a problem. So you need to have something that You can't have that 5 and 5 cording where it's super, super thin and non-existent looking on your ornament. I don't mind it being non-existent, but then to me, the hangers that are made with that super thin, I don't know, they just, I guess I'm a little bit of a medium-sized preferred person for cording on
And
ornaments.
when you say the cording is 8 and 8, are you got 8 strands of number 8?
No, it's 8 strands of each color. If it was gold and red, I'd use 8 strands of each. I'd use 10 strands if it was red, pearl, and gold would be still 8. So you have to, if you want the sizes to match, you have to kind of figure out how many strands of the 2 different colors it takes to have them twist up kind of the same. And depending on the Kreinik you use, the braid size, and you don't want to use the heavy braid size. Okay, hold on a second. So we're going to put this upside down because that's how we get the correct shape for any shaped ornament, and kind of angle your mechanical pencil in so the lead is actually going pretty much where the edge of the ornament is. So that's why Kreinik is always a little thinner than your pearl. So with the gold, if I was doing 8 of the Kreinik, I would do 10 of the pearl. Is that right?
Is it the opposite if you said that the pearl is thicker?
No. No, that's right. So then it is the opposite. The one ends up being a little thicker. Now I got to think about that. Because, so what happens is, I have one particular person that she wants all of her cording pearl 14 and 14. And if she sends me metallic Kreinik, I can only get 10 out of one spool. The regular size spools, this, not the skinny ones. And I know these are changing now, the sizes. So this I can get 10 strands of 3 feet. But with the pearl cotton, and this is obviously flat, so this is for like standard that I'm talking about, not that weird flat kind of Kreinik like it is that. So now we have to trace in an 1/8 to accommodate the depth of the board. But so I take it down to, so if it's 14 and I can only get 10, then I take it down to like 12. Because and it's not perfectly even, but I don't want it to get too thin. So it's a tiny bit mismatched, but 11 or 12.
If you were doing all gold, like this one is,
Yep.
How many strands is it before you started twisting it?
8 and 8. This was 8 and 8.
When you say 8 and 8.
8 for that set, 8
Okay.
for the opposite set. So you have one set of gold that's 8 strands and another set of gold that's 8 strands.
I get it. Okay, thank you.
Yep. And if you have a hard time doing the 1/8 inch, you can always come around with your ruler and just kind of go dot, 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 dot as you go. or using a piece of paper that has a little mark on it if you really want it to be precise. I just kind of eyeball it. And actually, right here, where this dart is, I'm going to leave a little bit of a straight and not triangulate back in equivalent to this, because hopefully this will leave us a little more area to catch on, because there really is no stitches that will hit there. They kind of V out with the way we darted it, and you can see it on the back side of it. So I think I showed that on the wings up here the last time, where the wings, and or was it on something else, to bridge the gap, to go ahead and leave some on the inner angle. Oh, it was on the picture frame. I'm going to exaggerate these areas a little bit in hopes of being able to pull that up and in a little bit and help create the exaggerated in that area that really isn't there. Because when you look at these along the bottom, even though the interior gold looks like it, it really isn't. The inside goes way up, but the exterior does not. And I think I did the same on Robin's, which, Robin, you should be getting that like any day. I shipped it last week. I still have a weighted gaiter to get done too. Ugh, this is the end that has like absolutely no. No, that is one long one. Okay. Okay. All right. Sorry, being hyper conscious about the recording stuff, just double checking. All right. Not sure what I used on there, but being ugly. I can just feel it popcorning that area, and I don't want to keep doing that. Better. I am digging in quite deeply into my mat underneath to try to make sure it doesn't slip, and what then that means it didn't go all the way through on other sides at the points. Come on. There. I do like how having the beveled edge on the angel ornament helps with the shape, giving it a nice finished edge. So now we're going to bevel. I hope my theory about that little chunk out works. Would be nice. Okay. I'm just going to burnish that down. If you're worried about the edge of your X-Acto, you can use your finger. That'll push anything down that you don't want for the most part. I don't put the felt in between this because typically okay, I am frozen, huh?
Recording in progress.
I'm here, I'm here. Give me a second. I'm here. Alright. I know we just pressed all this down, but if we don't undo this, we can't put our board in, and we have to press it down so that we can get our shape. And tracing over the top of it does not give us the correct shape size. You can, but you gotta definitely make sure to really go in a lot further. Probably 3/16 versus an 1/8. Doesn't sound like much, but still. Alright, and we don't put the felt inside of it because the stitching is typically enough of a buffer.
And you don't put interfacing on the canvas either.
Oh no. Nope. Never. I know some people do that. I need to cut this down a little bit. But knowing what this fusible interfacing is like, I don't think it's going to keep it structured at all any better. And actually, if your ornament wanted to shift because, say, it was really hard to block, if it was really hard to block, while it's pinned out, trace it on lay a piece of tracing paper over it to get the good shape that you've gotten while blocking. Then go in 3/16 all the way around instead of the 1/8 like I just did to make this piece smaller to put in. Then when you put this in, if it starts to shift back, this foam core is going to keep it in the right shape. So you don't need to put any interfacing on it to try to keep it from becoming unblocked or misshapen over time. This piece of foam core is going to do that job for you. Alright, so I am going to do the top of the wings because when I do the head, it seems to kind of pull funny, the crown. So I think I'm going to do the wings first.
You need to pull back just a touch. There we go, perfect.
Thank you. And I want to make sure that as I'm gluing it down, there's no space in between. That I'm not rolling it over and there's a void. Because potentially what could happen is then you pull on the bottom part and this space that's underneath here, because that gold isn't sitting down on the foam core, it could pull it around the front enough to show your waist canvas, and you don't want that. Don't want that. Okay. And I'm going to do the sides and kind of into the corner a little bit there. That's all nice and straight. And those little darts that we did on the corner, there are just 2 bits of waste canvas holding this gold on there. That's fine. You can just pull all of the long pieces, extra pieces off. It's alright. Right? I want to make sure that they're not really French knots, but that gold stitching stays up. Because our cording is thick enough that it'll hide that little bit of white waste canvas that's there. It'll all get hidden. I have frozen again. Okay. Close. Start.
Recording in progress.
And I do not know why it keeps not putting my camera on every time I come back on. Turkey. Okay, so I am looking at how I want to do this. Boy, that is going to work nice in that. Sweet. So always leave a straight instead of doing a hard dart in this corner. I am going to bring our deep V in next. That's what we're going to glue next. I'm giving it a second to kind of cool a little bit so I don't burn the heck out of my finger. And pushing that right up in there. And I'm going to put that right up in. Pull around, pull around. So I shared the story the last time I did this where the reason I hated these was because I used to have to stuff them. She wanted them all stuffed. And it made the back, oh, and even the front, it cinched this in, so it was this big poof on the front and poof on the back, and oh, I did not like it at all. And then the bottom, you couldn't even see the scalloping, because with the sewing and the puffing with the machine, it just, you couldn't even see it. Yeah. See, having that little bit of extra foam core in that deep dart, major advantage. Alright, so we're going to finish up these wings. And move down. Yeah, I was debating between a thinner white and the gold because I wasn't sure I had enough gold. And I had to scrounge around to be able to find some because the local that's near me for needlepoint stores didn't have gold for a very long time. And I never ordered any straight from Kreinik that was like on a bigger cone, because that's why it was so hard to find Kreinik for a long time, and why there are new kind of spools is because of the manufacturing of the spools was being delayed, because they just couldn't get them. The little tiny ones, but not the big cones. So, it's been a while since I had any in here. I don't know how I got lucky to find one in the depths. Okay. She is looking pretty good so far. Alright, I'm going to try to do these two first. And again, I'm trying to Alright, I gotta leave because I'm frozen. Wow.
Recording in progress.
Hello. It did not want to let me back on. Not a good sign.
Did you ever get your hotspot working?
No, it doesn't because the Wi-Fi and everything, it doesn't make a difference. There's just too many people using our internet. So it didn't make a difference turning that on. So I paid extra for something that didn't even work.
Right, I agree.
Sucks. So thank you for reminding me. I need to take that off my plan. Actually, you know what? I'm going to keep it on only because when we have had power outages and my data was running low, it would be nice to be able to not have to worry about going over and still be able to watch movies and things, even though we're freezing our tuchus off with our power out, depending on what time of year. But usually it's the winter. It was only an extra $10, but still.
Oh, that's not bad.
Yeah. I guess I didn't get the super duper duper one, but when it wouldn't even and it kept shutting it off, like if it wasn't being used or something. I don't know. So I'd go in to use it during one of the classes I was doing that was getting hit really hard, and it said it wasn't an available Wi-Fi. I was like, seriously? Probably just because I don't know what I'm doing and not doing a setting right. But I am going to get a hold of them. It's kind of a, after this week, there's a lot kind of going on here, so that I don't want to bother the person that deals with that. But I won't be doing classes for probably till September. We'll see. after I get this little group of redos done. Thank you, audio. All right, here we are. So if there was no stitching here, you basically would see this roll under, and this would roll away, and it isn't as big of a deal to as you think to get it rolled under by doing it in this manner. But isn't she just so cute? This is what gets hmm?
I said she is very cute.
Yeah, it's just, that's what gets us in every time, right? She's cute.
Yes,
And she
does,
comes with
every
little
time.
little charms, and so people are just like, "Oh, I love that and I want to do that." And then you go, "Oh, shoot, how am I supposed to finish that when you start doing it yourself?"
I have one that's Puerto Rico.
Oh, do you?
Yeah, she could be fun. I have a huge collection of them. I've done about 15 or so, and I have another 30 in my stash.
Ooh! Oh my
Yeah.
goodness.
I was quite enamored with them when I discovered them. Because they're so easy just to take along as just a small project.
Right, and they're great for gifts because there's something that's personalized, right? For people that you know. Oh, look at that one. That looks like da da da. Okay.
Exactly. You have to like the people a lot though, because they're by the time you're finished with it, you've got probably $175 in it.
Yes, yes, that is part of the challenge is that when the people really, oh, come on. Am I back? Can you hear me?
Recording in progress.
So I think the difficult part with making things like this and you're not doing the finishing for it. I mean, it's expensive enough just to do the canvas with all the fibers and all of that, and then you add on the finishing aspect, and it's like, whew.
The last batch that I had done, I think I paid $80 a piece for finishing, and I was told that was actually probably a pretty good deal
For ornaments.
for this angel ornament.
Yeah.
Kelly is speechless. What are your thoughts on that, Kelly?
My thoughts are, I feel sorry for those that feel that it's too great of a challenge to do it themselves. And I understand why stores mark them up the way that they do. But I also feel like back in when was it? Oh, 2008. No, it was really when I kind of first started doing painting and things like that, and canvases were like going up in price just insanely. And I I just couldn't charge at the time I was painting my own. And I'm like, I just cannot charge that much for a canvas because because I can charge that much, I could price myself right out of work. And I'd rather have the work and do more pieces than to have people stop buying me because things were getting way too expensive. Just because we can doesn't mean we should. And I also know that right now there's one of the major finishing companies is stopping taking pillows and stockings and things that are done with a sewing machine because they can't find the help.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah. And so, and it's a big one and they do a lot, and it's just like, oh dear. That's going to put a world of hurt even more. But as you yourself will see as you're doing this, have you seen well, the stuffing that I use for pillows? $22 a bag.
Is that right?
Yeah. You go in and you start looking at polyfill and you start looking at the cost of the material, and it's just getting just as insane as when we go to the grocery store. And so, it's just all part of that inflation aspect. Yeah, I mean, it is mind-boggling. But that's why you guys are trying to learn how to do this, and hopefully some people are able to really feel like they have help out there, that are people are willing, because our group is extremely willing to help, give suggestions and tips, and we have plenty of videos out there that are free all over the internet. Not all of them are great, but it just gives you a lot to compare so that you can choose what works for you. But I do know that there are some places too that are putting an even higher markup on their finishing than.
Recording in progress.
So what I was saying is that I know that there are stores out there and finishing places that are putting a higher markup than even what you just said was the cost of yours.
Uh-huh.
And it is um it's scary in a way, because it's like, it's a service. It's not, it's not something you should mark up the same way you do that you're just selling of a regular canvas. But that's my opinion on that one. That's how somebody else runs their business. That is theirs to do with. But I just hope it doesn't, for the blessing. Okay, when you put that on, I put a thin bead of glue on there just to hold it in place, but really press it down so that you can't feel a hard bead when you grab onto the back of the ornament. Okay.
Kelly, you said you've been using wool felt, right?
It is 65-35. Yep.
Do you ever use like the batting for quilts?
So I used to. But I started using this because, again, look at the price. As soon as they put like quilting on it, it goes through the roof. And I used to buy, so the person that I finished for, she wanted like 90% of the ornaments I do for her are puffed on both sides. That's why you see that in my videos, is because that's what I have to videotape, because that's what that store wants. recently she's had requests for flat, double flat, cookie style. But before that, she never did anything flat unless specifically requested. And so I used to have to try to find the most lofty, it was like 10 ounce or something like that, batting by the yard. And not too long ago, when it came in at Joann's, I was like, what happened to this? And the quality was junk. So that's when I switched to the batting that is on the supply list for if you're doing a puffy, because of that. And I just don't like, I don't know, I don't care for the consistency of the really thin stuff. And I had some of this felt for a project that I was doing with my needle felting. And I was like, this has just as nice of a feel as the other, and so why not use this? So that's how I converted over to it. If you like that, the batting, use it. Absolutely. This is just what I use, and it's never a hard and fast. I have used some kind of odd things to do this when I didn't have what I needed when I was finishing like at home. All right, so which way is, oh, of course, the way that, is it wide enough? Okay. So I'm going to start at the top when I do this. And then I'm going to put the mid darts in.
Recording in progress.
Okay. So I'm going to start at the top so that I have a spot to anchor it, and then I'll go to the bottom and I'll do a couple of the bottom pieces so it won't shift when I go to do the side darts. On stars and things like that, I would do the top point, just get it tacked on, and then I would come down and do the dart that's the biggest in between the bottom, because you want to make sure that you have enough fabric and it doesn't shorten it by pulling it down too far. In fact, now I am going to take and put one there. Now, just so you know, there is a fusible interfacing out there that is black for dark fabrics, so that if it's got a little thinness to it, if of your material is kind of thin, what happens is if you put the white interfacing on it, sometimes it almost illuminates the color, like your screen that's your computer screen that's backlighting all of those images. So you definitely want to, if it's a little bit on the thin side, go ahead and use the black interfacing. Okay. So somebody messaged me about the advanced blocking class, and they were like, you know, the drop cloth that they had at the hardware store that's cloth is huge, and is there anything else I can use for fabric? And it's like, yes. This is not a hard and fast. I just was able to get one online that was like a 5x7 or something like that. I have used a bed sheet. There's all kinds of fun things that I've used when I really needed.
Use what you have on hand.
That's right, every time. Because if you don't have to pay for it again and again, it's okay. But sometimes, depending on what it is, could potentially be a little bit of a risk that it's not going to turn out exactly the way you thought it would. But that's how we learn. Like with weird, beautiful decorator fabrics that you go to use them, like say as a self-welt on a pillow, and it creates these weird ripples as it goes around a corner. Okay. Definitely won't use that again for that application. Alright, so we're going to have to take that dart in a little deeper because it's not going to pull up in there. But see how nice that pulls up in? I mean, you know, it's got just enough stretch and doesn't freak out and start to shred. And on the back as I'm doing this, I'm feeling to make sure I'm not creating a weird ripple as I pull it. These deep darts can have a tendency to do that. Like I said, I was talking about having to do this as a puffed. So what happens when you machine sew it is deep darts like this, when you write it out, the material will make a weird gather. See, it kind of puckered there, but it'll flatten out as we put everything, stretch all the rest of it. But when you do it, on a machine, it does it 100 times worse. And it's just like, ooh, okay. Did not expect that. Alright, so now I'm going to come up and hit the 90-degree angle to put it in, but this oh goodness. Come on, leave. Oh my goodness.
Recording in progress.
Okay. Hello. So we
So I
do,
was gonna ask, when you're talking about doing them, when you do them puff and by machine, how are you stitching? You do it like back to back and then right side out it and stuff it from inside?
well,
So you don't use it before?
that's how I used to do it. And then because she kept insisting that that's how I should do it, and then one day I did it the way I wanted to do it, And she was like, "Oh my gosh, this is just the puffiest thing ever. How wonderful you did on this one." And I went, "I made myself crazy all those years when I could have just been doing it like this all along on foam core. Killing me." So, yeah. It's
But
all
that was because she wanted a puppy, right?
right, and she didn't understand that it could the kind of puff that I could achieve was just as good with foam core. And so sometimes not explaining to somebody and just doing it could have saved myself a lot of heartache.
And isn't it more stable to puff it on foam core than to just stuff it?
Yeah. Well, you couldn't see the scallop at the bottom. Disappeared.
I remember you said that. Yeah.
You know, it's just it just disappeared. And around the head, there were always kind of weird big holes here because even though you're sewing it with a machine, it does these terrible pull marks just like when you dart it here. So, you know, it just was not good. And following your instincts sometimes and saying, I do know what I'm doing and I know that it would be a better product is worth just going ahead and trying it one time. And, you know, if she had said, "Oh, you didn't do it the way I normally like it," I, but she just thought I had done it the exact same way. She had no idea. So,
Even when she felt it, she couldn't feel the difference?
well, she may have felt a difference, but didn't she like the way it looked so much? I said, "Yeah, well, I did it with foam core this time." Really? You know, it's almost like they have to see it to believe it, kind of a thing. And so, you know, it's just how some people are.
I would say something about those New England women, but
I know it, right? I know it. But we have a few on here, so we don't want to get.
I'm not saying anything. You're causing enough trouble.
Oh.
Mother, where did you get the ultra suede from?
Uh, so this is a piece that was because the person I finished for gives me all the fabric. So this would have come from Fabric Place basement, which used to be in Boston, but is now in Natick, I believe.
It is?
Yeah.
So Joanne's Fabrics is having a sale on Ultra Suede
They
and
don't carry ultra suede at my Joann's. That's why I was
well, you
asking.
can go online. Go online. 'Cause
Oh,
that's,
okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
They have limited amounts, but they do have it. Limited kind of colors. But
yeah, but I'm away right now. I'm not near my Joanne's. So I ordered it online this morning. A
yeah.
red and a blue.
Oh, nice. I like the red. I like both of their ultra suede. All of their ultra suedes are nice. And even though so there is like a teal, it's not a true green. It's still all of those decorator fabrics. Uh,
Recording in progress.
so all of their ultra suedes are great. And now they also have some, they're not a true velveteen. They're considered a upholstery velvet. I love the red one. It's a great red. It's very close to Pearl Cotton 321. has a lovely nap to it. I used it
Well,
on
that's what I think about the thickness, because it's really thick though.
for the ultra suede or for the.
No, the red velveteen.
Oh yeah, but I use it all the time.
Okay.
Yep. Yep. The only kind of upholstery weight that can be tough, but I have used it because it was such a close green, is that really heavy old school um upholstery weight velveteen, and it's just thick. I mean, it's really thick. But I have used it because I didn't have another option for the best color. So, and that's ultimately how I end up deciding what fabric I use, is usually to match the color that they want the most. And some people really hate and will say, do not use velveteen. Okay. I don't have a problem with that. I tell you, I swear, the hardest, for me, the hardest color to find in velveteen is a nice green. Like a nice Christmas green that isn't like too springy and it's not too forest. It's it's just I got some that was decent from, oh, it's one of the big uh, online fabrics that
Do you
pops
ever
up.
go on to New York Designer Fabric, I think?
No, because I really have been burnt so many times on trying to buy stuff um, over the internet that
They'll
I
let you get as many swatches as you want,
mm, well,
and they give you a big enough swatch that you can really see the color. I bought some green Dupioni silk,
ooh,
and it's such a gorgeous Christmas green.
really?
Yeah,
Hmm.
it wasn't too expensive either, and it's big, it's wide.
Okay, so I don't mind if it's expensive, if it's good quality, it's, a good color, and they have a decent return policy. Um, because you just can't trust what somebody else calls. And trying to find those really nice silks like that, and that particular silk, I find I like it because it's heavier
Yeah,
and typically it doesn't give the pull marks that a lot of silks will give. Um,
and it's slubby enough that sometimes it doesn't show the other things.
exactly, exactly. Very forgiving. I kind of feel that way sometimes about moire, but a lot of people don't like moire because it is dated. And I get that. Um, but when I'm lining something, I think moire's great.
Plus, there seem to be some newer colors, so they're not like
Right,
salmon and
right.
But I bought some off of somebody on our, I think, self finishers.
Oh,
She
yeah?
had a bunch of, yeah, Sandy somebody out in Washington,
Oh,
and she had a lot of like moires that you can't find anymore.
ah, that's always nice.
Yeah.
Because it is, like I've said before, the place where I used to get velveteen when I first started, because velveteens became so unpopular, um, they went out of business. It was in New York. It was called Very Velvet, and they had the best colors. And I mean, you could find like every shade.
Yeah.
And it's like now that they're back, it's kind of back in fashion in a way, because everybody wants like these very luxurious and tactile fabrics. And it's kind of funny, like all the big furry things. Anybody hear me? No. Okay. Okay.
Are you guys thinking
Recording
this?
in progress.
Oh, yeah, right, Janet Perry. So
Uh-huh.
there's a self-finishers group on Facebook,
Uh-huh.
and Kelly's the administrator,
Oh.
but it's open to everybody, and there's other postings of other videos of, from people,
Hi.
although Kelly's are really the best, but, yeah, you can, are you on Facebook?
Yes, I can, so is it just called needlepoint self-finishing?
Needlepoint stuff, and you just have to request to be admitted, that's all.
Okay.
But make sure to answer the questions.
Right. I said
And,
to ask.
Well, no, what happens is people ask, and there's questions there, and, to be honest, I didn't make the questions up. The original
That was a
admin.
couple of years ago, right?
It was in 2020 that it,
Right.
yeah. And she put on there, what's it mean to frog something? Because she wanted people that were actually genuinely interested in needle pointing. And I laughed and I said, I don't even know what it is to frog something. And she's like, oh, it means to rip stitches out. And
Well, that's because you don't needlepoint.
I don't needlepoint and I don't knit, so I didn't know. And she's like, well, it's also a knitting term. And I was like,
No. Frogging?
yeah.
I've never used that when I knit.
Well, that's
I
what.
always threw it out.
Well, there you go. But yeah, she said it was a term for that. But there are people that are just like, I don't know, that's why I want to learn. I don't know, that's why I want to learn. It's like, okay, Google it. Give it a shot. Make an effort. I'm gonna kind of be a little bit of a jerk, I guess, that if you're not going to even attempt to answer it in a productive manner, some people are like, it means, something silly. They'll just put something in there. I was like, okay, at least you didn't put, I don't know, I want to learn. Okay, come on. You don't know what LNS stands for. Okay, not everybody has a local needlepoint shop, but give it a try. Some of the things they come up with are kind of funny, actually. I want to send them a message and go, okay, that made me laugh.
We can admit you just because you're going to be a lot of fun to work with.
Exactly. You're gonna, fake it till you make it.
So did you see on Facebook there's another finishing group?
No.
Have you? I wasn't sure if it was an offshoot of ours.
No.
But they didn't. There were questions on that one they didn't answer. I wasn't sure if I got the answers wrong.
No, and so when I took over as administrator, Ellen had somebody else that had asked if she ever decided to stop doing it, that, she could take it over. And then the person never got back to her, and she's like, Kelly, I don't want to do it anymore. She says she's an artist with ADD. She learns something, she wants to gather all the information, and then she kind of moves on and she flits between things. And so she didn't want to be tied to the group in that way and wanted to make sure somebody would come in and, And so I'm not surprised if somebody did, because they probably think I'm a real snot because I decline people because they don't ask or don't answer the questions. So it doesn't really surprise me. But it could also be like a store that wants to promote their finishing. I don't know, because I'm not on the group. But that's cool. I mean, I can't believe how many people are in our group now. It's kind of,
It's getting bigger and bigger.
yeah, it's like almost up to 5,000. And I have a
Is it
whole,
really?
yeah, and I
Yeah,
have a,
4.8.
I have a whole bunch more to add in. It just keeps coming in, and it's like, okay, you people want to know. And yet, isn't it interesting how many people aren't contributing?
I've already out.
Recording in progress.
Uh-huh.
And it's
And
just,
what was the name of the website? New York Designer Fabrics or something like that?
so it's New York Designer Fabrics. I think that's where I have gotten the last. And Joanne's Fabric right now is having this huge sale
Uh-huh.
on microfiber and faux suede.
Okay.
It was, I don't know, it was like $13 or $17 a yard, something like that.
Well, that's a good deal.
I know, right?
And
But,
you definitely want to watch for the interfacing sales
that was last weekend.
and for the stuffing sales. That and
The
you know the
perma-
batting.
You know the interfacing. I forget. Flex, Permaflex.
Yep, form flex,
So-
shape flex.
That was on. It was on sale last weekend for half price.
I like it when they have the 60% off coupon at the holidays.
If you buy a whole bolt.
I do.
Right now, it's 60% off if you buy a whole bolt.
Yeah. Yep, I do.
Maybe next time.
You'd be shocked at how you just go, wow, I just got all that for. But when you're like me and you're using it as much as I do on big pieces,
Yeah.
it's a big difference. So,
Do you can you get if there's a birthday song being sung behind me, sorry.
that's all right.
Can you get the foam board in larger diameters? I've only been able to see it by 11 by 14.
Oh my gosh, yes. Jerry's Artorama. Yeah.
Jerry's Artorama,
Yeah.
set up by you.
No, it's online. It's an
Okay.
online store, and you can have it shipped, and there's sheets of, they might not be as big as 30 by 40, but yeah.
Because I have a bell pull that's 30 something inches,
Yeah.
but I don't know how to do it.
Oh yeah, it's like 30 by 40, something like that. So
And what was the name of the fabric store in Natick?
it is
My daughter lives there.
the fabric place
Fabric place?
basement. Because now it used to be the fabric place, and now it's the fabric place basement. All right, so we want to make sure to, I'm going to leave a hole here just in case I decide to put my cording in there versus at the top. All right. And the fabric place basement also has one outside of, all right, when we glue this, now we put it face down and we press it down and we kind of push our darts in to meet and hold. This will keep the front side from looking concave. Making sure it didn't slip too much. Okay. Because these are the areas that are going to get the holes, are the deep darts. And that's why we have to have thicker cording, is to cover that area there. And it's not always easy when we're putting the cording on. All right, so
Diane, under the wing,
yep,
is that waste canvas or is that just the edge?
that right, hold on. So that is a piece of waste canvas and the edge of the foam.
Recording in progress.
So that is the foam on the back side that is on the ultra suede side, and that is a piece of waste canvas and foam core.
But the under edge of the angel's wing, or the wing itself, that's just.
That's gold.
Oh, okay, okay.
Oh, hold on. That's gold. Okay. You can see a couple of white dots. You can see a little bit of it there. But when we come around with this size cording,
Right.
you're not going to see it at all. All
I
right.
don't have a picture for Kelly now.
Oh, great. It's because it's egg timing. Did I come back yet?
Okay, now you're back. Now you're back.
Okay. I try to ask you guys if I'm back because sometimes I don't have to go all the way out. All right. So I think we're going to see how this will fit in here. Obviously, I have committed to making, the reason why I have the loop when I normally might not is because this is too short, but I found a little bit of more of Krynic and kind of did a short piece of it. So if I have to start it over on this side of the angel and come up and just sew it over this area, I will. And I think I might, because it'll make a much nicer beginning and end across there. So let me come up a little bit.
My picture keeps freezing.
Okay.
Oh, now you're back.
Okay. What time is it? 7:30. Yeah, that's about right.
There are way too many people on the Cape tonight.
Way too many. Silly people.
I've lost picture again.
All right. Come on, let me out. Hello.
You're back now for me.
All right. All right. So we're going to use the 2-inch curved needle, and we're going to get sewing this stinker around. Two, 3, 4, 5. All right. Okay, so today I went out and I got my favorite kind of Band-Aids, and I have my little leather pad that is basically my thimble attached, because that was kind of starting to get a little stretched out, so. Oh, come on. Fine. Right? I wonder if this new self-finishing group is the bunch of people that are anti-glue. Hmm. So I'm coming up on the front side. It's too far out on that stitch. I want to get okay, there. So typically I try to do the angles back, and so that you have a nice long stitch there. But when it comes to these deep darts, I'm literally going to do what I tell you not to do and go straight across. Because we're going to cinch this right down in. I caught my scissors. Sorry. And we're going to, so it's coming out here on the front. We went across, and now we're going to come in to this. This is why I love Ultra Suede, is because this won't fray when I do this. If I do it with what did I use the last time? It was a cotton on the last angel that was kind of like a quilting cotton that was multicolored thing that they had sent with it. And it was fraying where we had to make the dart. So I had to be really, really careful with what I was doing. And not
Is your
that,
fishing line doubled?
nope, it's a running fishing line. It's doubled up
Okay.
here, but then
Okay.
I just keep it feeding through.
Got it.
Okay, so that is out a little. Okay, there. I want to come back down, grabbing the needle point. And I'm holding it down as I'm pulling it through so that that stays where I want it to stay and cinches in. I'm going to grab a little bit of this ultra suede to make sure the front and back are both being sewn through. I don't do it with every stitch, but I try to do it, you know, every other-ish, because then that ensures that the back is tacked to the front, and if our glue fails, it's still going to stay together. And because the gutter is, you know, just deep enough, we're pulling this cording into it, and it starts to kind of disappear, and it doesn't look quite as thick as you thought it might look against the needle point. There is a place where you can get your finishing done through that they use mat board, and the cording looks like it sits almost on top of the needle point. I don't really care for it the way it looks, but I like how it kind of pulls in more and your needle point is up front more. Sorry, I'm trying to get some of the glue off because the corners always have a lot more glue in them. And you can see I didn't get all of it off. Okay. I'm going to pull that. The other thing is if you kind of pinch the material side and the needlepoint side as you go, as that cording is laying down, if you pinch it, they'll come together and the gap will lessen. Oop. All right, we're coming to this 90-degree corner again. So we're going to slide it right up. There. Okay.
missed when you put the head part in, the loop. That must have been when you were coming in and going out.
So it's just,
You did that first.
yep, it's just the loop. I was testing it to see which way I kind of wanted to do it. If I wanted to start sewing the cording in here and looping it around, but I ultimately decided to start it on the side because this um, will look nicer and cleaner with a straight edge across it versus a blunt stop and end on either side.
Good. I
Okay.
remember you talked about it, I didn't see you do it.
Yeah, sorry. You really just push it in, and I didn't even secure it in there. You just kind of shove it in for now, and then once we come up and around, we'll sew it in. Okay. That. So we go straight through to the other side. And we're going to come kind of down here. The nice thing about the metallic is it hides your fishing line, because the shine of the fishing line isn't as obvious as, if you have pearl cotton, here's shiny fishing line. Oh, that's perfect. Okay. And matte colored pearl cotton. And I use pretty much anything for cording. So don't be afraid to try different fibers, and if it feels like it's not getting tight, just remember that there are some fibers that don't like being twisted clockwise because of how they're manufactured. So if you ever have a hard time where it's just not tightening down, it could be because you're going against the way it was manufactured. Kreinik doesn't care about either way, but if you don't do pearl cotton twisting it clockwise, it will not cinch down. If you try to do, counterclockwise for the first turning of each color twist, it'll fail. It'll just get looser. Which I never knew that because I always twisted clockwise. And then somebody told me that, and I was like, huh, well, that's really interesting. But that makes a lot of people crazy. So I definitely try to pass that on. I don't know. I keep feeling like I'm going out of camera. Right? So now, if I didn't have the pre-made loop because I was short on gold metallic, I would have anchored my metallic there, brought it up, made my loop, okay, anchored it right next to it at the base, and then kept sewing on and not had a separate loop. Typically, that's how I do things like this that do not, like those cap ornaments that have the little cap on the top and then it's round underneath. Just finishing wise, those are tough because the ball part is never perfectly round, and I mean, I have a whole trick to it, but it
We
can.
ignore that part, we just make it a circle. I
Right.
ignore the top part, just because of that, it's ugly.
You can do that too.
Yes, I do.
That's one way to deal with it, yes, but those of us that it's not for ourselves, they expect us to. And I love it when they go, and we want a bow. It's like, then why have the cap? You're not even going to see that with a bow on it. Oh. All right. I'm going to come down here. Gotta make sure I kind of push that in because it wants to pull forward. The only thing you have to be really careful of trying to do a cap, the loop at the top that way, is that you don't twist your cording as you make the loop, because that's a lot of the times how you'll see some loops at the top that are all twisted around and they spin around on themselves, and then they won't be open ovals at the top, an open loop. They're just big twists. So, are you going to be difficult? Oh no, it pulled in. Okay. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in on the back side here, try to fight our way to the corner. Lots of glue there. Right? Come straight across, and we look and catch it right there. And the wonderful thing about metallic or having the same tone cording is when you marry them together at the end, it's very easy. All right, see how it's starting to kind of pull away and make it gutter there? A hole. We want to pull that back while we can. And we're going to pull that. If it still doesn't do it, we'll come back at the end with the dowel needle and manipulate the two twists to fill that gap in. And it's not really that it's a gap, it's just the way the twist is in that corner. So I'm going to come back here. Come on, come on,
Mm-hmm.
All right. Oop. It's also kind of an awkward shape for holding on. All right, so now we're going to be coming up in the front of this dart. Don't want to catch that blue stitch. To kind of push that back in a little bit. Do it like that. That really pulled it in. Okay. I just kind of untwisted the cording a little bit and it pulled it down in tighter. Because like that one, you can see that that length is there. Even though you can see that this one is right there, this cinched it in a little nicer here. So we're gonna, it doesn't look like it's gonna be nice and tight there. Kind of retwist it and see how it does. There we go, nice and tight. Okay. I am bringing this needle, trying to, on the back, bringing it up on the back side of the gold so that it will hopefully pull the cording down in versus on top of. Come up with this dart. I'm going to try to pull this down in kind of deep by going deeper into my navy material, right, like that. Let's see what this does. Boop, right down in. Okay. It's very interesting how certain shaped ornaments, and I'm going to do the same thing here, how much cording they use up. Got to be very careful when you're doing curvy ins and outs. Not all 36 inches of fiber, like for your pearl cotton, depending on the ornament, you could make it too short. It could use it all up. So you have to be very careful, because 36 only gets 36 inches, and then once it's twisted, it can you end up with about, it's like 30 inches worth of cording. You lose like 6 inches. Okay. So the waste canvas from that is being not helpful. So we're going to grab this back fabric. Okay. I'm going to twist it a little tighter. I'm going to kind of set it down in there, and I'm going to look. I'm going to bring it here. this. Bring it up on this point. Dart in, not point out. Okay. What I'm going to do now is come up right here. I'm not grabbing the cording and pulling it down to it because there's kind of a little gap here and I want to cinch the fabric and the needle point together. See, like that. Now I can come back, pull this in. I don't want people to roll it with their finger and see a waste canvas or a hole. So we're just doing due diligence to make sure that it's actually nice and tight in that seam. And now this is where my glue talk comes in. I am not anti-glue. I am a you do what works best for you. And there are a lot of people that are not able to manipulate a curved needle. It's very difficult for them. My advice for when you glue is you use Fabri-Tac, Farbitac. I am going to actually probably end up making a specific self-finishing page that is just all the different supplies that I use. That is the glue that I use on the Limoges box tops. And it affords you time to manipulate what you're doing. You know, you do it a little at a time. But do not use hot glue. Not only does it dry too quickly, it could let go if it's not properly stored.
Kelly, what about this is what E6000, I think?
It's too runny. I find it too runny. I used it for the M&Ms on the tray the other day, and it squishes uncontrollably. It just kind of is extremely liquidy. I like the Fabri-Tac because it has a little bit of body to it, and it stays up in better. A lot of people use that for the Limoges box tops, but so recently we did my topper ornament, and the way that I put the beads along the edge is by using that glue and the Fabri-Tac, and it just leaves such a nice edge there that you can just sprinkle the beads onto, and it kind of just, it will dissipate a little bit and shrink a little bit with it, but it just kind of, it stays where it's not as fluid. So that is why I like it. Somebody actually just asked me, they have a bunch of beads to put on, and she's like, there's so many that I just cannot put this many on by stitching. I'm not exactly sure what it is, but she was saying, and this is where I get it from, and from the M&Ms, is that she's like, that stuff is just, I cannot control where it's going. What do you suggest I use? And I said, this is what I use for everything. And I know 2 other places that are huge finishing houses that's all they use is the Fabri-Tac. So if you like to use it and it works for you, it's gonna hold, definitely. But they just found it, you know, it's just runnier than this. I feel like I have a lot more control with this.
But, you know, that running conversation we had about the canvas bag and attaching needle point to the canvas bag,
Yeah.
did you use the Fabri-Tac for that too?
Actually, when I attach things to a canvas bag, yeah, you can use the Fabri-Tac, but I always tack down the edges because people beat them up and they use them and they, and so I always like to have a little safety net of just tack the corners and do yourself a favor to safeguard if it gets a little pulling, it's going to have a little extra stability and help. I used to use it on the ribbon belts as well. And, yes, I sewed the edges of the ribbon belts, but I never had a problem with the Fabri-Tac on it. So you can absolutely put those on with that. And like I said, if you're going to do cording around the edge of it and use that, just definitely put a couple of tacks on there strategically.
I covered it with vinyl so that I could take it to the beach,
Yep.
but I couldn't get the curve, the pulse needle, the LL Bean bag.
Yeah, so what you got to do is put a pilot hole in where you're going to come up and down. And you can use I would like a tack. Just put a hole in it that's a little thicker, or even, I use a tack because it's something I can hold on to. My doll needle is, too slick. And so I use a tack when I have to do the picture frames. I run pilot holes through any place that I want to come up. And you can use a straight needle on that if a straight needle is easier. Those bean bags are tough. They're very heavy bags. So I have done them multiple times, and that is how I accomplished getting a needle through, was by putting in a pilot hole. I think an awl would be too big, but I think a tack or something like that would still lend itself to being fine enough that you could then put a decent needle through. Even if it's a straight one, it doesn't have to be curved. And I'm not talking about for the cording. I'm just talking about for strategic tacking down. Put your cording on using your glue, or put your piece on using your glue, but then come around and do like a stitch in the middle of the square or a couple of them and just put a hole. You can even kind of put it right through the edge of your needle point so that it's right behind it if you wanted to. I mean, does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. Because like when I do the easels on the picture frames, so if you go to the picture frame video that's on YouTube, that's just the free one that I did. And fast forward until I'm putting the easel on the back. Sorry, lots of glue right there. And you'll see what I do. I take a tack and just go straight through the easel back part and then down through, because it's just so much glue. And then it's either mat board or foam core, depending on what you use for the easel part. And it's way too tough to get a straight needle through. And this is something I learned because I put the this end that holds your thread, the eye, came right up into my finger and gave me a nice big puncture. And I went, well, not doing that again. But I have to figure out a way to get that to go. All right, so this is where we're going to put our knot. Yay! Bring that all together. Do, 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 do. Do, do. Alright, so I'm going to come up just like a quarter of an inch past there so that we can marry those two together and be done. Yay! Oh, not yet. I have to put the charm on. I almost forgot it the last time.
Oh, did you put the charm on last time?
Oh yeah, but I always do it at the end because I don't like having my thread constantly catching on it as I'm going around. And there's Big Ben and London and a taxi, and so there's a lot on this one.
When you said you used Parnix for that one, did you use 8 or
I used 8 strands of standard braid. The one that I showed you is the HL. This is the little bit that I used for the top, so it's a little coarser than the rest. But this needed gold. It just needed it. And so I was willing to have a little coarser on the loop in order to use the standard braid on the rest. And it's really frustrating when you're looking, I was like, well, I could do navy because, you know, the back is navy and it would just disappear. And it's like, no, it needs to be sparkly and, you know, the queen and no, gold. So every time I have an instance like this, I destroy my studio looking for what I need to look, you know, to find. I mean, it worked this time, but, you know, I'm going to have at least an hour tidy up tomorrow before I can do anything. All right. So now it's all about laying this one right underneath the beginning of the cord. It's not about sticking it straight down in like this, because then you're arching and it'll never marry together and look lined up. Okay? So you're just opening that up. And this is where having this glued end becomes very important because we are manipulating this and pushing it. And I have done it where I accidentally hit the fishing line and it cracked, and then it just splayed out in there, and it's a whole lot of ugly going on. So we just go ahead and glue that little end, and we're just going to push that in as far as we can. This is the back, this is the end, this is the beginning, right? So we're going to take this, we're just going to push it under, continuing to push that under behind. Okay, then we bring it around to the front, and I'm going to push that little tiny bit under, and I'm going to bring these two together just like that. Now, if it was blue and gold or something, if it was a two-tone, you'd have to kind of twist and untwist to manipulate it to get your pattern. But it is doable, and I have done it in other ornaments that I have done. I did it with the shaped, trying to remember what was on the round. And in many of the pillow ones, you'll see that video. So now what we're going to do is we're going to kind of lace back and forth. This is where my knot is. I'm going to come back here. I'm going to put this in, and bring it up here on the front side. Okay. And then I'm going to slide between these two. Okay. And kind of push that. Now I'm going to grab this fabric, and I'm going to run my needle under and come up on the back side here. This is going to pull, that fishing line is going to pull your fabric in and hide the under. Okay, and we're here. I think we'll come up on this in between those two twists. All right, I'm going to come here, and we come there to the front side. This is where our two cords meet, right? So this will, I have to push it with my finger because that needle going through the needlepoint canvas kind of popped it out. And we're going to come up. This is the end of the other that we came around with. Okay. I'm going to pull this at an angle down, right? Now I'm going to go the opposite way with the fabric. Bring it in here. Pull this fabric right to there. Because I can see that this piece needs cinching down. Okay. See how it's kind of got the little bulbous here? So we're just going to bring it in here. We're not going to try to grab any of that needle point, okay? Not right now. We're just going to pull that. Then I'm going to bring this right up there. This is where we're going to knot, because when we pull that in, that's going to cinch it down enough. And then I'm going to show you how to get rid of that little blurb that's kind of seems like he just popped up out of nowhere. I'm going to run this underneath, and because this is ultra suede, we get to knot in the back. A lot of other fabrics won't allow you to do that because the fishing line can potentially tear right through and gets ugly. Right, there's that. Now come back in and do my loop. This. Alright, now we're not done because I don't ever cut knots off right where it is a hard knot that's kind of visible. Pull it up in the front pretty much anywhere. Alright, kind of hold it tight, close as you can without hitting your stitches, and it'll suck it right back in. Okay? So this little bulbous part here, this is where our doll needle comes in. Okay? Anytime you have, okay, let's pull this one up a little so it kind of matches better. Let's push that one in a little. Okay? I'm moving it in the direction that I'm ultimately going to be pulling it. Now this one, we might be able to just kind of roll and tuck and he'll go under, maybe. If he doesn't, then what we do is, this is him, this twist comes up on this side, we pull our needle under and give it a tug this way, and that extends it out and pulls that extra back down. We don't mind if it's a little bulbous here because it's about to turn the corner, so it's really not a big deal. We do the same thing at any of our corners that you feel like there might look like a hole. Just kind of put your needle in there and manipulate that in. Okay, that one's fine. This one's kind of at a weird angle, so we're going to put it in here and we're going to pull. Ooh, yikes. That's a good way to mess up a hairdo. And pull it down. Come on. Don't want Renee to get mad at me because I smeared her little hair there. Alright, and that one's fine. Everybody else, it's got a little spot here that I'm not in love with. So you know what we're going to do? We're going to pull down the needle point canvas. Sometimes that helps. Okay. Try to take all of our schmutz off the back. And here's the little cutie pie. This way, right? Put it back a little bit. Up. That way. Okay. You guys have any other questions?
You forgot her charms.
Damn it. I'm so excited about being done with that cording. I just keep not wanting to put them on. Tells you how many vapors I'm running on lately. Alright, here it is. I don't even need new. So I'm not even going to put a knot in the end. And the one thing that we need to look at very specifically. Alright, you've got to find the loop. And that is the jump ring that everything comes off of. It's supposed to lay like that. There we go. Okay, and it goes side to side, so we have to, you don't want to come up here and down there. It has to go from left to right over the jump ring. Now, you could put a jump ring there so that, you know, it's jump ring to jump ring, but I'm going to use clear fishing line, and you come right up that stitch, right? I have left it on before, and it's not easy. Alright, I'm going to make sure, yep, that's the back, that's the front. And it goes, nope, I just did it wrong. I'm going to go back through it like this. Come on, guys, get it together. That's correct, that's correct. And our taxi. Okay. We're just going to go through a couple times. And that's it.
And then you're gonna tie a knot.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yes, yes, yes. But I'm not just going to tie a knot one way. Okay. Take some of the length off of this. So I'm taking the two pieces, bringing them under the charms. Come on, flip up. And we're going to knot it on the underside of the jumper. And we're going to take that side, pull it through. This side. And right next to the knot. There. Tug, tug, tug. And then come back in and make sure everybody kind of lays back down the way they're supposed to. Ta-da! There she is. Cutie.
Very cool.
She's very cute. I like her. Just remember, if you have these gaps and you want to keep them, the darts, it's easy to cinch them down in the same way that cording down in the same way we did it here. You're just going to be bringing your needle up on the front side here to pull it back down in. Don't be afraid of it. If you want to keep them, if you want to remove those so that you can't see that. But I think that this finished up very nicely. And with those in there, and it's really not that distracting.
No, I like them with that in there. That's
Yeah.
perfect. Good
Looks
job.
great.
Thank
Really feel-
you.
Really feel it's gonna.
So, now, the one thing I don't like doing on these is monograms. It's really hard to get them centered in this. It can be really difficult. So, good luck with that if you try it. I'd try one without it before you. A lot of times I'll make them like across her behind because trying to get them and make sure that they're even there, it is a challenge. So thank you very much for joining me for class. And
Thank you, Kelly.
all right, you guys take care, and I'm going to get this loaded right now.
Perfect, thank you.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Oh, it won't let me off.